views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. Tonight, kind of a special show, and it's actually the first of two programs we're going to do like this because it is the holiday season. And during this time of year, a lot of us take a look backwards and we look at what might have happened during the past year. We're going to present tonight and then again next week, three of our favorite segments. So that you can kind of enjoy the segments as well, but also get an idea of what we have done this year on BronxNet's talk show, BronxTalk. All of the segments that we've selected, I shouldn't say we, because they were selected by our producers. And in this case, in the first one we're going to show, this was a program that ran July 12th. It featured an award-winning design proposal for a men's shelter in Hunts Point. It was created by high school students under the mentorship of the city's Department of Design and Construction and School Construction Authority. This was suggested by our trusty intern, Jimmy Sullivan, who's an intern from Fordham University, who just really liked the fact that it was young people taking control of their lives and doing something that could have great effect, not only in the Bronx, but throughout the city. So let's go back to BronxTalk, July 12th, 2021, and see about homeless shelter design.
This really underscores really the nature of architecture and design and construction, because yes, you could put up structures, but if you don't understand who it's for and apply it, and certainly in this population, this is a population with needs, and if you don't design it for them, you're putting up four more walls that are going to have problems eventually, which is of course what the city's done. So Shahima, let's stay with you. Yeah. Did you want to add something, Mr. Selkridge?
No. I agree with you 100%. And as an architect, you want to try to design something and try to, I guess, and somehow use your ideas and your problem-solving talents to help society, and especially with the homeless shelter. What better use of an architect's talent and problem-solving skills than to try to address a issue that happens to be a big problem with society.
I probably should ask you this, Mr. Selkridge, at the end. Did you learn anything from the students through this? I mean, I'm already learning from the students through this, but you work closely with them. This group, it's clear to me, they kept coming at you with ideas, right?
No, yes, and that's the thing that was so impressive with the students. They were so thoughtful, and they had so many ideas that are outside the box, outside the typical normal thinking that we do in society. And I think that these students are our future. And if we have students that are more like them, I think that things will be better, who really have a heart and the empathy that's required to be an architect to solve this issue. And it's a social issue. Yeah. And I think as an architect and a designer, as a problem solver, they can do it. They can really try to use their ideas outside the box and solve some of these issues to make it better.
I tell young people all the time, you lead, I'm happy to get right behind you. So that, and these are the students we're going to do that with. So Shahima, let's stay with you. So Casa Verde is what it's being called, the greenhouse, and the literature says create an ecologically friendly. Imagine this. Think of how it seems simple, but an ecologically friendly men's homeless shelter with training and educational programs and employment readiness initiatives for up to 135 residents who would be eligible to stay at the facility for 6 to 8 months. Get them started, get them grounded, and get them on to the next thing. Shahima, what role did you have in this process? Like, what was your thing, and what did you try to create, and with the input you had, see it come to life?
My role in this project, so for Casa Verde, we have 3 different buildings. One is a residential building, one is the training building, and the other is the greenhouse and the market building. So my role was to design the training building, which is basically where we take in the residents and community members of Hunts Point, and we try to build a community inside of Casa Verde. So we encourage our residents to just get educated and support. For example, we have on-site urgent care, and we also have mental health services and counseling services. We also have art classrooms, we have meditation rooms, we have resume building classrooms as well. So basically my input in this project was to create a community for the residents of Casa Verde so they feel like we're there to support them through their journey of homelessness.
I've heard, I've hosted many programs on homelessness and social services and these things before, and people talk about it. The reality of delivering, we just went, as everybody knows, we went through a mayoral primary. We're going to have a whole new city council. They've talked about these things. In your mind, what would it take to make them reality?
One of the main problems that we were trying to solve was how are we going to get the community on board? Because as you may know, homelessness and homeless shelters are frowned upon in our society. So one of the main things that we were trying to tackle was how are we going to let the community open up to this idea of opening up a ecologically friendly homeless shelter.
Okay, that certainly makes sense. I think from what I know about Bronx people will respond to this. It's getting leaders to put funding toward it. That's another whole thing. Now, Pamela, I did not ask you your role in this. I asked the other two. So what was your angle on the creation of this project?
So my role was to create the sleeping pods and the HVAC
So
system.
what, say it again, the sleeping pods?
The sleeping pods, exactly.
What is that?
It's not the typical bed that we see in common homeless shelters. Instead, it's a hexagonal sleeping pod, and it's divided by 2 occupants. And due to the COVID-19 epidemic, we're not really sure when it's about to end. We had to take precautions regarding social distance. And so we needed to ensure that residents were comfortable and this placement of the sleeping pods were a safe environment for them. And then
let me just ask you about that. So instead of a bed or a double-decker bed or whatever they have in homeless shelters, you've created a little space for them so they could have ownership of the space, right? Am I understanding that that's the unique way you looked at this?
Exactly, yes, because we didn't want to make it seem like, I guess, a regular homeless shelter that we've seen before. Instead, we wanted to consider them to have their own personal space. And in that area, they have their own window, they have their own sleeping area, and their own storage units.
I've got, and we're going to show that on the screen, of course. I've got, some of the plans here, which, we're going to put that up on the screen. It's incredibly detailed. MD, but some of the things you're saying, I hear from people all the time. We want, green technology. We want to make sure that people have, services. We can't just throw up buildings. It's completely logical what you're saying to me. MD, was this a difficult project to put together? Once you got the idea, then it was just a matter of laying it out. That's the way it looks to me. How difficult was it, and what were the challenges to, once you had the idea to put that together?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Well, that's what I get paid to do.
So the process isn't as easy as it looks at the end. So this is the final culmination of maybe I would say 10s, maybe 20s of different designs that we had. So the homeless shelter started off as an E building. It was simply a E letter shaped building, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's a funny pun on an E building. Yeah. That's
yeah.
I like that.
So the original Spuffer Juvenile Center, right? That it followed a similar shape to that. So we were thinking of like, hey, do we retain the same design shape, or do we go for something completely different? So we were kind of playing around with the idea. We even went from a jigsaw, like a jigsaw puzzle, to like a I forgot the other thing, but there was a bunch of different designs that we went through. So right now, yes, while it does look pretty, like it looks like we came to the layout just after that. There's a lot of process that goes into it. For example, the training building and the marketplace that we were thinking of, those weren't originally there. We were thinking of putting them in under one singular building, but thinking of like how it is great for the residents to move around, to interact with one another, to go to different buildings and like interact with the residents of like the actual community. We figured that creating 3 different buildings would be the best.
Okay, there you go. Let's do our second best of segment. This from that same month. I guess we had a very busy summer. This from July 26th of this past year. This was a show we had done about Black and African culture. It featured a discussion about, I guess it was on the follow up to Juneteenth. And Peggy King George, who is a projects consultant, a cultural projects consultant, the president of the Kingsbridge Historical Society, Nick Dembowski, was with us, and Harold Fuchs Simmons, who is a music and social justice artist, were the 3 guests on the show. Producer Stephen Powell said he liked this segment because this was a real look at Black culture, and he, as he said it, our culture, and what he really appreciated about Fuchs was that he took some of the fundamental concepts and he put them in a way that kids and young people and really everybody could appreciate. So let's take a look. Let's go back to July 26th, 2021, and look at the program we did on Black and African culture.
Talk to me a little bit, Fuchs, about what it's like to try and tell young people about this history, which when they wake up in the morning, let's be honest, it's not what they're thinking about. So talk to me about what you do and what the effort is and how it works to communicate these things.
Yeah, I think I've stumbled upon a really great opportunity working first with nonprofits like DreamYard of teaching social justice through the arts. And that kind of gave me the entire framework for the music that I do now, which is art provides an amazing platform to be able to talk about basically any subject. And I've really focused and honed in specifically on Black history and telling stories that I wish that I learned in school that I didn't learn. And when I got older, you know, it took years before I knew what Juneteenth was. I never learned about that in school. It took years before I hear you all say enslaved. Just even that switch of saying enslaved, this language is things that we're kind of learning young, slavery, slaves, etc. So just undoing some of that knowledge and really educating in that way about certain subjects, Black figures throughout history that have achieved amazing things that I didn't know much about besides Martin Luther King. Maybe there was a Frederick Douglass, certain people, Harriet Tubman, but there's a wealth of knowledge in every city, every state. Me coming from Nashville, Tennessee, now to New York, hearing these stories, it's like there's always an opportunity and a wealth of knowledge. And me being a musician, music is the first thing that I go to. And I love music. It's catchy. You can really translate a lot of messages. I still remember some of the multiplication songs when I was a kid. So it's the same way with talking about some of these historical things or social issues, etc. And it kind of works seamlessly and for all ages, you know, whether it's a song where you like to dance, a song where it covers a lot of topics. There's definitely a way to kind of marry it all together that just works so perfectly.
I want to know what the kids think. I mean, I don't know exactly what ages you work with. Are they blown away? Are they paying attention? Do they go up and say, wait a minute, we got to get on board and protest along with Peggy King George and all the places she goes? I mean, or are they just kind of absorbing it? I mean, and then, of course, how do you coach that so that young people,
right.
we got to, I know you use future for future. We got to build for the future here.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the moments that I really, really grasped it, I was working with a third grade teacher here in the Bronx, Miss Parks, and she said, can you come up with an engaging lesson for our Black History Month program? So I put together a song, I researched it, and the message was Black history didn't start with slavery, and talk about some of the history before that, after that, etc. And I came out with visuals for it because I always like to do media and visuals to go with my song. And I debuted it. I premiered it for this third grade class, and they lost it, Gary. Like they couldn't handle it. They were just so excited and hyped doing dances. And that's when I really saw the opportunity there. I saw the joy, the fact that they learned something from it. And every age group is different, of course. With the youngins, with the elementary, it's always, they're so passionate. They're still trying to figure out their thoughts on things, but they'll share their opinion. And you know what's wrong with this? You know, they really want to tell you what's going on. Middle school, they're a little more chill, you know, so they might not show you that they like it, but then they might come up to me afterwards. You know, Fuge, I really love what you did. I'm gonna look you up on YouTube. That was great.
And in high school, when they get to high school, they're going to open up a book and they're going to look in the history book, and hopefully they'll ask the real questions when they get to social studies class, or every class, really. I want to show the clip. I mean, we use this on the Bronx Buzz this week, but I think it really underscores, for me, two things. One is telling the history, but telling it in a way that young people will absorb it. And, you know, we don't want to talk over them or under them. We want to talk right to them and with them. So here it is. Did you want to introduce it? These are just samples of some of the stuff you've done, right?
Yeah, the main song is Black Women in History, that talks about some of the amazing accomplishments of women throughout history, featuring Reese Palmer and Snook Nook.
There we go. Okay, let her rip.
Black women in history, her story, and this is her story. Black women in history. Gotta say it loud so it's not a mystery. This song is dedicated to your legacy, so it's time we let them know where the sisters be.
Yeah, last name Hamer, first name Fannie Lou, civil rights leader, helped register our people to vote during Jim Crow laws in the 60s, back when blacks couldn't vote in this country.
She paved the way for future politicians, along with the first black congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. Kamala Harris made history as the first ever woman elected VP.
So many suffragists that fought for this, like Nashville's O.J. Frankie Fitz, helped register thousands of vote in Tennessee and made a school for black girls in the 1920s. Could not have done it without the pioneers, the women fighting voter suppression for years, like the Stacey Abrams and Felicia Davis. Said so many women to name, that's why this is for the black women in history.
Black women in history.
Okay, there we go. That's Fuge, and that's the great work that he does with young people. So I'm going to start with you, Fuge. I don't know if you three had seen Hulu is playing The Summer of Soul, which was a 1969 concert in Harlem during the same summer that Woodstock played. And I'm going to tell you, and obviously I'm a white guy from the Bronx, I was well aware of Woodstock. I listened to all that music. It forged, you know, I was a radio DJ. It forged my life. I had no idea that at that same time, in the summer of 1969 in Harlem, there was a massive concert that included Stevie Wonder and Hugh Masekela and Gladys Knight. And what it underscored, and this I want to examine with all three of you, because it's come up through this Black Lives Matter dialogue, that there are parallel lives. There are, you know, it's almost like segregated lives. And the fact that this existed and nobody knew about this fantastic music concert in Harlem, and it made me look at the fact that we really still have parallel tracks, and it's very hard to get it together. Future, I don't know if you saw it. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
I did see it.
What do you think about this notion of parallel lives, or parallel systems, or parallel ways of being in America, which we, you know, hold so these truths to be so evident that we're all created equal? So start with you, Fuge, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's something that growing up Black, it's always been evident. But I think we're reminded of it at certain times. I think sometimes we get comfortable and we think that it no longer exists. I think social media, streaming has kind of put it in our faces once again that this exists. When I was younger, we used to see the black and white videos from the 40s, the 30s, the Jim Crow era. And it just had this feeling of that was the past, you know, but we've moved on from that. But it still exists. It still always has existed. And I think because of social media and some of the conversations that we're having, it's right back in our faces again. We can't ignore it. So it's one of those heartbreaking things. But yeah, unfortunately, we are still in a very segregated mindset and mentality.
One of the programs that I think we all liked maybe best throughout the whole year was when we brought Sonia Manzano onto the show, this longtime Bronxite who is better known as Maria on Sesame Street, came on the program to talk about her new animated PBS kids series, Alma's Way, and presented it for the first time to our home borough of the Bronx. There were first looks at clips of the delightful kids show that depicts not only a young Alma's home borough of the Bronx, but encouragement for urban youngsters to use their heads to think for themselves. And producer Stephen Powell said he liked that one best. And I think it would be hard to disagree. Number one, because it was an indication of Sonia Manzano's growth as an artist. She was on camera, and now she was going to be behind the scenes producing a series, but also the importance of depicting the borough of the Bronx and all urban places as nice places, as places that are good to grow up, and teaching kids to appreciate their own communities. So let's rewind the clock, and we will go back to really not too long ago. I guess it was October 4th of this year, and Sonia Manzano presented Alma's Way on BronxTalk. Let's take a look.
Before the program, I shared with you that my own son, in whose bedroom, by the way, I happen to be doing this program, and he's grown and out of the house now, that he said it was kind of a shame it took so long for the media in general to represent urban life, Bronx life, even Hispanic life, in a positive way that inspires children that they're okay. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you've been on TV through this period of time, that this is now really, the first chance to do something like this.
Right. I don't know why it's taken so long. I guess that it's because the gatekeepers who make these decisions are intimidated by stories that aren't theirs. They're intimidated by stories about other people, though if they took the time to look at the story, they are universal themes that we all feel as human beings. I don't know why it's taken so long, but I hope that after Alma's Way airs, I hope that the legacy is this. I hope people say like, oh my goodness, since that show Alma's Way was on the air, there have been a million shows about a million kinds of different people on the air. And maybe this is the beginning, but it certainly cannot take another 50 years as it has.
Oh, certainly.
I was starting in this business.
I think it's a way of normalizing kind of normal life. I mean, the Bronx is a majority Hispanic county in the state of New York. 44 or 45% of the homes in the Bronx speak Spanish. So it's kind of a way of saying, well, wait a minute, this is life. This is urban life. This is 1/5 of America. We should portray it on television in a respectful way.
Absolutely. People make the assumption that because the Bronx is a troubled area, it was troubled when I was there, it was troubled in my household was troubled. The assumption is, well, there must be no joy there. And that's a misconception, because there is joy everywhere. If there's joy in Frank McCourt's book, Angela's Ashes, there's joy in the Bronx, certainly.
Well, one of the things, and you've already alluded to it, and talking about Willie Colon, and actually he took me on a tour of his old neighborhood once, so I might have walked right by your where you grew up. But music is a very big thing, and certainly a very big thing in the Bronx. I always tell people we invented like all of it. Whether it be R&B or salsa and all these sounds, of course, hip hop comes out of the Bronx. Talk to me about music and the importance of music, Sonia, if you would, in this program, because we're going to show a clip that features the kids involved in music.
Well, certainly after Sesame Street, where all that fabulous music was written, I learned, Rubber Ducky, It's Not Easy Being Green, Sing. I learned that it's important for kids, or it's a way of not looking down on them. They can tell when something is good, and they can tell when something is bad. They might not know who Aretha Franklin is, but they can tell that voice is something that they could listen to. So I know that I've experienced that, and it was important for me to have really good music on the show. And we certainly have a plethora of beautiful music. I was raised on aguinaldos de Puerto Rico, salsa, bomba music, R&B in New York, and there's every kind of music represented in the show.
I don't want to drop names, but I've heard that Lin-Manuel Miranda did write a theme song. Is that what happened?
Well,
don't tell anybody.
Oh, are you kidding? It's out there.
Tell everybody.
Yes, tell everybody. I was so thrilled that he did it. I met him on Sesame Street a few times, but I knew his father. His father, Luis Miranda, was a Puerto Rican, active in the Puerto Rican community.
He's an icon in many ways.
Yes. So I called him up and I said, so please hook me up with your son so he can do this song for us. And as you know, Lin-Manuel Miranda has a way with words. He could use 4 words to say what it takes the rest of us 50 words.
Well, we're trying in a half hour here, so
I know.
and he did it in a little song. Anyway, let's show this clip. I love this clip. This is the children learning music with each other, and again, it hits to the roots of what kids are thinking and doing now. So here we go. Alma's Way.
Aha! Ah! Oh, hi, Alma. You scared us.
Sorry. I was just trying to figure out who was playing that music.
Oh, yeah. Tia Lulu let us use her music room so we could practice.
It sounded great, but aren't you tired of playing the same thing over and over and over again?
Nah. The more we play it, the better we get.
Yeah. When we first started playing the song, it sounded like this. That's what we thought, too.
But we've done it so many times that now we play it like this.
Wow, that was totally amazing. You should play that song for my mommy and papi.
Then we should invite my parents and abuelo, too.
And my mom.
Do you want to play with us, Alma?
Really? Sweet!
Yeah, we could use someone to keep the beat.
Oh, I can beatbox. I've done it with Papi a bunch of times. Check it out. Boom, boom, ch, boom, 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 ch, boom, boom, ch, boom, 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 ch, buddy bump, buddy, bump, bump, boom, boom, ch, boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, boom, boom, ch, boom, boom, boom.
Whoa.
Okay, sweet.
You're so good. Beatboxing is just what a song needs.
Yeah, this is gonna be epic. Congratulations!
Woohoo!
You're in the band!
Woohoo!
All right, there we go. It's just infectious. And I know, I talk to Bronxites all the time. This is what Bronx people, what Bronx parents want their kids to, ingest from television and all the media they get. Ellen, the voices and the people that were selected, they're incredible. I mean, from what I've seen, do you want to do a shout out and congratulate the people who are going to be on it? By the way, 8:30 every weekday morning from now on, right? That's what we're doing on Channel 13?
Yeah, 8:30 a.m. on Channel 13, Monday through Friday. Also available on the PBS Kids video app and on pbskids.org/Alma's Way, which is our website with videos and games as well.
There are games, yes. I mean, this is really reaching out to kids where they live and who they are. I loved it.
Okay, there you have it, our special Thanksgiving show, showing you some of the best of Bronx Talk, as selected by our producer, one of our producers, and our trusty intern. And there you go. We're going to do a similar thing next week as well. We'll keep the holiday spirit burning bright here on Bronx Talk, and producer Rebecca Hemick will pick her 3 favorite segments. for our program that, of course, is on with you every week. So we'll wish you happy holidays. We'll wish you good cheer. We, of course, want everybody to stay safe, wear your mask, hug your relatives, hug your friends, and let's keep the borough of the Bronx happy and informed, which is what we do on BronxTalk every week. So happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.